Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. InfoWarsStore.com.
Welcome back to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm Millie Weaver, and I'm going to be breaking down a news blitz. So Donald Trump has been trolling like crazy, and he has been draining the swamp. And we've seen it with Comey, who recently was fired, and that massively triggered floods of liberal tears. And now we're seeing Trump, we have insiders saying that it looks like Trump could replace Spicer as a purge of establishment advisors begins. So apparently, Sean Spicer could be the next one to be fired. We're going to hear Trump say, "You're fired." And that seems to be crazy. But they're saying that Spicer has behaved like a deer in the headlights in recent weeks and is not able to handle the pressure of the job, according to one source. White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus could also be on the chopping block as President Trump begins a purge of moderate advisors who he feels have performed poorly when it comes to investigating the source of leaks that have proved embarrassing for the administration. Yes, a lot of leaks have been coming out of the White House press briefing rooms, and there were some investigations, and it looks like nobody ever got down to who exactly was leaking things to the mainstream media in order to make the Trump administration look bad. Another interesting one here, we just recently saw how Anderson Cooper was interviewing Kellyanne Conway, and he was rolling his eyes at her when she was talking. Now, what's interesting about this is if, in fact, it was a liberal woman on the show that you have this white male rolling his eyes at, the liberals would have had a storm saying, "Oh, he's a misogynist, he's belittling and degrading this woman," if this woman was, in fact, a representative of Hillary's campaign. But, because it's a Trump, because she's associated with Trump, it's okay to belittle her and disrespect her on camera. Another one that's interesting is Democrats have been pushing for impeachment already. So this is interesting. The Stolen Valor Senator is pushing for impeachment over Comey firing. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, who once apologized for misrepresenting his military service in Vietnam, claimed President Trump firing FBI Director James Comey may well produce impeachment proceedings. So liberals were not happy. He triggered so many leftists and Democrats over firing Comey, which was a long time coming. And now they want impeachment. Well, that's kind of interesting because just before they were all praising Comey, and they totally no, they were not praising Comey. They were all criticizing Comey. And now they're acting like he's some victim because Trump fired him when they were calling for him to resign earlier. Comey, his temporary fill in has ties to Clinton. This is really creepy here, okay? Because the person who's actually going to be replacing Comey is somebody who should not be trusted, according to some people. Some sources say that it looks like this guy who's going to be replacing Comey is actually a Clinton ally, okay? So his name is Andrew McCabe, and he's going to be sworn in to replace FBI Director James Comey. And he first made headlines in 2015 when his wife, who was running for a Virginia Senate seat, received nearly $500,000 in campaign donations from Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. Okay, a known Clinton ally. So he's getting money. His wife is getting money from a known Clinton ally. Incidentally, McCabe headed the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails at the time and was criticized for not recusing himself from the investigation following revelations. So this is a guy who was supposed to be investigating Hillary Clinton's emails and didn't disclose that he had conflicts of interest. He didn't recuse himself, and he kept on through that investigation. I'm sure he kind of played a role in getting it thrown out. And so this is the guy that's going to be temporarily replacing Comey, but it should only be very temporary because Donald Trump is working fast to make sure that somebody else fills the seat. And everybody on Twitter seems to be saying they want to see Trey Gowdy fill that seat. Well, that would be pretty amazing to see Trey Gowdy fill that seat because he has a pretty good track record of being really honest, really straightforward, and a heavy hitter. He would be the type to go after Hillary Clinton and make sure that she's behind bars for her crimes if in fact she's guilty, which we all know she is. Okay. Trump says, okay, this one's interesting right here. Trump says that he will release his tax returns after he leaves office. So he's out there trolling the liberals and all these people demanding, release your tax returns. We want to see your tax returns. He says he might release them after he leaves office. So this says, in a move destined to trigger detractors, Donald Trump has said he is considering releasing his tax returns, but only after his presidency concludes. He says, at some point I'll release them. Maybe I'll release them after I'm finished because I'm very proud of them, actually. I did a good job. So he's just totally trolling people out there. And, you know, you have all these people out there, release your tax returns. We want to see your tax returns. And, you know, they'll only see it after he's done. And I think that, honestly, his tax returns are probably pretty innocent. He probably has followed the law. I'm sure he would be under investigation by the IRS if he didn't. But I think it's just more of the matter that he's not going to make people force his hand and have to give over his tax returns, because then the left would be winning. This is interesting. ABC cancels Tim Allen's highly rated TV show after two months after he called out hysterical anti-Trump left. Okay, so after he goes out and calls out the leftist lunacy, he gets his show canceled. Well, it's not too surprising from one of the, the stuff that we've seen in the past where anyone who comes out as a conservative that's a Hollywood actor, Hollywood star, they get blacklisted, they get shunned, they get their shows pulled. Even Dr. Phil had, some repercussions for him airing that show on this girl who claimed to be human sex trafficked. And this is what's interesting here, okay? Apparently, in LA, there is a secret underground group of showbiz conservatives. Victoria Jackson, a former Saturday Night Live cast member, told Huffington Post. It started with 2 people in 2000. I was at the 5th or 10th meeting, and now there are over 2,000 people. So we have thousands of Hollywood celebrities. These are actors, celebrities, people you've seen on TV who probably out, in front of the camera are liberals, but really secretly behind closed doors, they're having to have secret meetings and talk about their conservative beliefs amongst each other because they don't want to get blacklisted. It says the only ones out of the closet are John Voight and Pat Boone. There are famous people in there, but they don't want to lose their careers over their conservative beliefs because conservatives are blacklisted. My goodness, are we really going to be this afraid of political correctness that people have to be hiding in little secret rooms like they're breaking the law by having a conservative belief? I mean, we have people too afraid to even talk about their conservative beliefs anymore at family dinners or at the office, at work. People have to be in hiding about their conservative beliefs or risk being shamed and shunned by the super serious SJW virtue signaling liberals. It's pretty insane what we're coming to, folks. So it's pretty insane that conservatives have to remain in hiding about their conservative beliefs. But there's also somebody out there who's fighting these SJWs. We're going to be joined by Brittany Pettibone. So let's go ahead and talk to Brittany. Hello, Brittany Pettibone. How was Paris? I know you were out there for the election in France and you have some stories to tell.
Yeah, it was very interesting, particularly on Victory Day. There was a huge march. It was a bunch of groups actually who had a bunch of different Antifa ones and anarchists, and you even had some people like holding peace signs, although they got out of there right before the march started. I think they figured things were going to get rowdy. So they were gone. You saw like all the elderly people departing, all the children. It was kind of like a sign that, okay, things are going down. So you had like hundreds of policemen and full riot gear. What they did is the march was down this long street towards Bastille. It started at Republique, and the police, they would not let anyone through the line. So even if you wanted to get through, even if you were a child, they wouldn't let anyone through. If you tried to get through, they'd throw you back. So basically for a good hour, we were stuck between the policemen and the marchers who were rioting. So there were only certain moments when it got a little bit crazy, none of which I caught on film because I was like scared for it, like trying to stay out of the craziness. But the Antifa there are insane. They are so many levels above the Antifa here in the USA. They have like uniforms, flags, chants, their own. They have got it down.
That's right. I know you were saying they were a lot more organized. They were what we can expect in the future for the Antifa here in the United States. Now, I know you were saying something about you and Lauren Southern being threatened as reporters out there. I'm sure it was pretty terrifying. What happened there?
Yeah, this was actually the first night when I arrived. We went to a protest against police brutality. So apparently someone had been murdered a few weeks ago, had been killed by a policeman. And so they were having this big kind of riot against police brutality. So we were there. And as we arrived, Lauren and I were very intimidated because we were pretty much the only women there. And there were about like 350 just big men standing there. There were some younger boys too, but they looked, just as scary. And so they basically said, you film us, we will literally beat you, break your cameras, whatever. So what they did was we actually had someone who spoke French in our group, which was thankfully, so he was able to kind of mediate and kind of like warm things up and talk to them. So basically after this, they were kind enough to say, okay, we're starting, get out now, like leave. And so they said leave, or we're not going to be able to say that you're going to be able to stay safe. So we left. It was very scary though, because as we left, we kept passing big groups of guys as they were moving into the riot, and they knew that we were journalists. They'd be like, what's that? What's that stick? You have like the selfie stick that you put the camera on. They'd be like, what's that? And just it was very intimidating, very scary.
So were those Antifa or were those refugees that were?
They were more like migrants, refugees. These weren't Antifa. The Antifa, we saw them on Victory Day, and they had their, flags and uniforms and everything. And usually the Antifa, I don't see very many usually they're white, just for some reason, most of the Antifa are. But actually all of these men, they looked, they were either, they looked like they were, from the Middle East somewhere, or they were black. And so we were pretty much the only white people there actually but this was like a no-go zone where we went. So
these are the areas where a lot of the refugees have resettled in France. And basically, this is what we would be seeing along the lines if more refugees had been allowed to come into the United States, because now they're at the point where they're actually out there protesting in the streets, which is pretty terrifying. And I know, Brittany, you were saying that you had been to Paris before and years before this refugee situation, and then you came back and it was so different. How is it different?
Yeah, it's very different. Well, just in the people that are there. I mean, I was there in 2013. It was very different. Now, I would be afraid to go out on my own in Paris, walking alone, even during the day. I just would, like, in certain places you go, like, for example, this protest we went to the first night, all down the street, there were like, it was a relatively nice area, but like a lot of the buildings were just smashed, like the doors and windows, and there was graffiti everywhere, a lot of trash in the street. And it just, but it's a nice area. It's not like it's this dump, you know, where you expect these kinds of things to happen. So that was quite shocking just seeing it.
Yeah.
Or being public, and it's just such a, you know, all of the refugees have come in. So there's refugees everywhere.
It's, you know, it's crazy. I'm sure it's shocking. It's a shocking transformation. It's why so many people were trying to support Le Pen to stop some of the refugees coming in. And, you know, we've seen all this craziness, even with the Antifa. I know the Antifa were out there celebrating, but these Antifa and SJWs are getting out of control to where they're even promoting women wearing hijabs and burqas, covering their face in order to go along with this this being politically correct ideology. And it's pretty disturbing. What do you think about that politically correct idea, Brittany?
Political correctness is just the bane of our country's existence, really. It's what's causing so many of the problems. People just going along with things because they don't want to be shunned or, you know, socially ostracized, whatever. They'll just kind of bend the knee to it. And I think we have seen, though, an upsurge in people standing up to it. People are now taking to the streets.
Well, hold that, Brittany, because we are going to be coming right back after the break, and we're going to be joined by Josephine from My Name is Josephine.
This is one of the biggest secrets out there. The missing link of why our ancestors, whether you were in Africa or ancient Albion, which is England today, why our ancestors were so much stronger. I mean, there are huge archaeological reports, all sorts of anthropology studies, you can look them up for yourself, that show that humans, just an average farmer of 10,000 years ago in England, was stronger than Olympic athletes today. In the final equation, everyone knows our modern society has lost its vitality. The sperm counts are down like 90%. People are falling apart. They're totally depressed. They're unhappy. What is going on? Every ancient culture was obsessed with what I'm about to reveal to you. Today we call it bone broth, and for thousands of years our ancestors enjoyed its benefits before it became lost to our modern diets of processed junk. That's why I'm so excited to announce the product that is undoubtedly the jewel in the crown of Infowars Life products. Caveman. We lost our vitality because we just ignored the ancient traditions. Everyone knew that you used all the parts of the animal. You used the skin to cover yourself or for shelter. You used the meat for sustenance, the fat for cooking, but you used the bones for strength. We are now introducing Caveman by InfoWarsLife.com, the ultimate in true paleo nutrition with bone broth, turmeric root, chaga mushroom, and 7 total primal superfoods in a single great tasting formula. The bone is so amazing. From the outside structure full of minerals and key cofactors to the marrow that produces the blood for the body. This is the engine of the life essence. I've made a lot of important points here, but this is the one you need to research for yourself because it's so key. High-quality bone broth helps support healthy muscles and connective tissue, while the active compounds in turmeric do battle on the cellular level and help fight free radicals. And collagen is essential to aid healthy tendons, ligaments, and muscle tissue. This is an absolute win-win. You get an amazing product produced right here in America. You support InfoWars and all we're doing to promote freedom and the restoration of our republic and promotion of freedom worldwide. The journey towards better health and giving our bodies these amazing compounds that God created starts at InfoWarsLife.com. 3 years in the making, incredible research, and the very best ingredients. I'm Alex Jones, and I may not be a caveman, but compared to these trendies out there in the street, I'm as close as it gets. Join me at InfoWarsLife.com and get your caveman formula today.